Dear students, welcome to you for the class. We are in the chapter 2 of 10th standard, that is acids, base and salts. In this class, let us study some of the chemical properties of acids. How acids react with metals. Let us study first. This is very common experiment. Your teacher might have conducted this experiment in the previous years also. Here in this experiment, in a test tube, few zinc granules are taken. Few zinc granules are taken in a test tube and add few drops of any dilute acids. As soon as the reaction takes place between the acids and metals, some gases are produced. These gases are passed through a bend tube. The other end of the bend tube is dipped in a soap water. So as a result of which soap bubbles are formed. So the released gas is within the bubbles. If you bring the burning candle near the bubbles, they produce pop sound. It shows that the gas released is a hydrogen. So you can read out it. Here we have taken few zinc granules and add few mLs of dilute sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid can also be added. So you will notice the liberation of a gas in the test tube if the gas produced is passed to the soap solution in a trough. So bubbles are produced. So the bubbles contain hydrogen gas. If you bring burning matchstick near the bubbles, they produce pop sound. So the reaction can be written in this form. So what acid you have used there? H2SO for sulfuric acid you have added, zinc granules you have taken. Here zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas is produced. So how can you test the evolved gas is a hydrogen if the question asked like that? So if you bring a burning matchstick near a gas, if it produced pop sound, then it is clear that the evolved gas is a hydrogen. To test hydrogen, generally we are using pop sound. Pop sound experiment can be taken to test. So in this case, again we have taken sodium hydroxide. Let us study how sodium hydroxide, a base, reacts with metal. So far we have studied how acids react with the zinc granule. Now let us study how bases react with the zinc granules. Here also hydrogen gas is liberated. Some salts are produced here. Now let us discuss the procedure of the experiment. Take few granules of zinc metals in a test tube. So similarly you have to take a test tube and take few granules of zinc metals and add few ml of sodium hydroxide solution. But here we have to warm the content of the test tube. But not as in the case of acids. In acid, when acids are added to the metals, you need not heat. But here in case of bases, if you add sodium hydroxide to zinc, you have to heat here. So you will notice the liberation of gases in the test tube. Now pass the gas produced to the soap water that is present in the trough. So bubbles are produced in the soap solution. These bubbles contain some gases. If you bring burning matchstick near the soap bubble burst with pop sound. It shows that the evolved gas is hydrogen. Okay. So with this we have you learned that if you take acid or if acids or bases react with metals, hydrogen gas is liberated. Now we are going to study another chemical reaction of acid with metal carbonate, like calcium carbonate you may take, and metal hydrogen carbonate, sodium hydrogen carbonate, baking soda you can take. So add acid to calcium carbonate, add acid to sodium hydrogen carbonate. What happens? Let us study now. So we have to take two test tube for this experiment. Label one test tube as A and another one as B. Now take half gram of sodium carbonate in test tube A and half gram of sodium hydrogen carbonate. Sodium carbonate means washing soda. In the first test tube you have taken washing soda. In the second test tube you have taken baking soda. Now add 2 ml of dilute HCl to both the test tube. You will notice the production of some gases in both the test tube. Here in case of test tube A and in case of B, in both the cases some gas are liberated. Now pass this gas to the lime water. Calcium hydroxide. Pass the evolved gas into the lime water as shown in the figure that is there in the next slide. So lime water turns milky. This shows that evolved gas is carbon dioxide. See here, carbonate is taken, metallic carbonate is taken, some acid are added to here. So with the help of a thistle funnel we have added acid, and here there is another bend tube. So with the help of this bend tube the evolved gas is passed to the another test tube which contain calcium hydroxide or lime water. As soon as the evolved gas comes in contact with the calcium hydroxide turns milky. It shows that the liberated gas is carbon dioxide. So the equation is written here. So sodium carbonate washing soda we have taken, we have added HCl hydrochloric acid, here carbon dioxide is produced. Here in the second test tube the reaction is like this: sodium hydrogen carbonate or sodium bicarbonate we have taken, and we have added dilute hydrochloric acid. Common salt is produced, water produced, carbon dioxide is evolved, and we have allowed the carbon dioxide into lime water. The reaction is like this. This is the lime water. If you pass carbon dioxide, calcium carbonate, white precipitate is produced, and along with that some molecules of water molecules are also produced. But what happens sometimes if the produced carbon dioxide is in excess, then lime water does not turn milky, because if the carbon dioxide is in excess, then instead of calcium carbonate, calcium bicarbonate or calcium hydrogen carbonate is produced, that is soluble in water, so it does not give any color. So this is how the reaction takes place when metallic carbonate or metal carbonate or metal hydrogen carbonate react with acid. So then what happens when acid reacts with bases? So in this chapter we have studied what are acids and what are bases. You have studied acids or chemical compounds, they release H plus ion in the aqueous solution, and we also have the knowledge of bases. Bases releases OH minus when added to water. So when these two chemical compounds react with each other, they nullify the properties of other. That means bases nullify the property of acids, acids nullify the properties of bases. So this reaction is called neutralization reaction. The reaction between the acid and base give rise to salt and water. This reaction is known as neutralization reaction. So this reaction can be written in this form: base reacts with acid, some salts produce, water produced. So symbolically this can be represented: base can be written metallic hydroxide, and acid it has what is called H plus ion with some other radical. So exchange of radical takes place. This H plus reacts with OH to produce HOH or H2O, and the remaining the remaining metal and another radical of the acid, they combine together to form a salt. salt. So, with an example, we can understand this neutralization reaction. Here we have taken a base and an acid. When they react, they produce a common salt and water. So, how water is produced? H plus of the acid and OH minus of the base, they combine together to form H2O. This reaction is called neutralization reaction. Thank you for listening the class.